We are looking forward to an amazing interview with the one and only Stephan Chase. Now, Stephan Chase, I've known Stephan for probably about 15 years now, and Stephan is a graduate with amazing honors from Dartmouth College. And then he went on to have an amazing career, and in his career, Stephan has saved the organizations that he has worked with through the insightful application of analytics. He has saved them over $1 billion, and these are not false facts. These are like mentioned in annual reports and like bottom line type of thing. And so Stephan has been working with us to try and understand how does one really get value from the information assets that they have at their behest. So Stephan, could you tell us a little about your career? Just a quick.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say, Thornton, is it's not that I've saved clients $1 billion, it's that I've increased revenues by that much.
Oh, okay, great.
So the point of my firm is to create profitable revenue, not just incremental revenue, but revenue that actually makes it to the bottom line. So to do that in a cost-effective manner.
So if I could just interrupt, so let me put an emphasis on that, an emphasis on that is that so many of the people in the information management world, they're sort of like, well, we can save you money, right? But the information is not just a custodial exercise; it is a value creating exercise. So it's like, so you can actually, there's an exploitation, there is a value creation exercise in this, and so thank you for making that distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just the efficient operation of mission critical systems. It is using IT as a competitive advantage, and half of analytics, or some proportion of analytics, is strategic. It's okay. So where am I? Where do I want to go? What do I focus on? And for that, if you needed to, you could do that in a spreadsheet. The aspect of making money at analytics, like the kind of analytics that people are talking about now, machine learning and all that, nothing happens without IT. The thing that is misunderstood and I think misapplied is two basic things. One, people often lead with the IT solution without actually knowing what's going to be different in the customer's life. And then, secondly, they need to work back. Both the business people and IT need to work back from, okay, well, what's the customer going to see? What's going to be different? What behavior are we trying to create? And then what analytics do we need to do that? Rather than starting out with, I hear about this machine learning stuff. Hey, how can we make money on that? Well, that's just the wrong way to go about it, simply because there'll be any number of consultants that would be delighted to sell you some machine learning services, whether you need it or not, and whether, actually a simple business rule will do it. It's really quite funny. Like, if I look at my LinkedIn feed and you look at, one sort of group of the posters, it's all about the amazing things that can be done with machine learning. And trust me, there can. There is no other way to do natural language processing. There is no other way to get self-driving cars. It's just not possible. You can't win a game of chess, without it. On the other hand, those are problems that have been studied by PhDs for decades. No one has been studying any particular company's financial results, customer data, the interaction with advertising for decades. So you don't necessarily need the machine learning. But back to the LinkedIn post. The other sets of people who post on LinkedIn about machine learning tend to be analysts. And they're a little bit more cynical to say about what actually is happening in machine learning. And the general tenor of those comments is, underneath all of it is lurking a business rule someplace, rather than an algorithm that is actually truly interacting with the data and learning in an ongoing way. Because machine learning, and we can talk about different aspects of analytics as well. But machine learning seems to be the shiny new thing that people are spending a lot of money on. Some machine learning algorithms are what you think that they are. They are ongoing learning. They're taking new data in, and they are constantly changing what they're doing. That is actually not the majority of the work that is done, in many companies' first machine learning forays that they may be spending a lot of money on, because technically, any segmentation analysis done through k-means clustering, for example, which is basically most segmentation analysis that are out there, technically that's machine learning. And somebody trying to help a company might actually position that as machine learning. Now, okay, so how is it machine learning? Well, a segmentation algorithm starts out at a certain place. Like, okay, well, I'm going to guess that it's 30% that, 40% that, and 30% something else. And then from there, it just tries a lot of different stuff, and it lands on what it thinks is the optimal grouping, maybe 20%, 60%, 20%. Well, like I said, technically that's machine learning, but it's not what an executive thinks is machine learning, and unless they're really paying attention to what they're getting, they may, like I said, they may not be buying what they think that they are. Now, the way to avoid all that, along with the machine learning, is the mistake, and then I'll go to, okay, so what can you actually do? And I'll use my favorite example, Amazon, when I get there. So the other mistake is I need a huge system. I need a huge database before I start. I need a huge system before I start. And sometimes the death of an analytic enterprise is a budget, which is odd. But the reason that is an executive asks a group of people or an individual, here's $5 million, go figure out what analytics can do for me. So what do you do when you got a budget? Well, you got to spend it. And in order to spend that amount of money, well, you've got to have a system, and you may bring in a consultant and all those things. Because if you don't spend it, you won't get it. You won't get it again. So, but an analytics initiative doesn't necessarily have to have a big systems implementation. You can test a lot of different things, and with the systems that you have. And the first time what I would say commandeered a promotion where it was Marriott's biggest promotion that they do. I tripled the algorithm that I created in this particular case, tripled the incremental revenue that came from the promotion. But it required, not no systems work. All of the work was actually done on a workstation. And I just essentially, this is to tell you how long ago this was, I burned the results into a CD and I handed it to IT, which was kind of anathema. What? You took data out of the system and you're giving me a CD? I said, yeah, just target the campaign based on this. No change to their existing process, just pure analytics, which tripled incremental revenue. I'm actually doing the same thing for a client right now. We took the data out of their system, analyzed it, created predictive models about who's going to buy what, and literally just feed the information back to them to allow them to use their existing process to change what they offer to various customers. And in this particular case, the results are much greater than triple.
Nice.
Without using the existing systems. That requires, to understand the IT focus, that requires a very good relationship with IT. And the analyst has to actually understand IT's process to be able to talk to them in some sort of intelligent way about, oh, so you guys do this way? Oh, okay. Well, if you manually insert this information in your process right here, we can get through all of the need for a lot of technology work and see what works before you invest in the technology.
Nice.
My favorite example is Amazon. Greg Linden was an individual who actually, without being asked, or in fact, in one case, we're being asked specifically not to do it, created the basics of what ended up being their recommendation engine. And then the second one I'm going to talk about is putting that recommendation engine into their purchase into the shopping cart.
Right.
Now, an SVP had told him explicitly not to do this. Do not put a recommendations in the shopping cart. And candidly, in that person's defense, that's a dangerous thing. Once you put something distracting in the purchase path, right, quite often, and I have seen it work badly, you distract the customer and they actually don't end up, making the purchase. But not to test it. So anyway, Greg didn't listen. We're not in a first name basis. Linda didn't listen, and he did it anyway. But how did he do it? Well, he knew a person in IT who could just essentially make that happen, not a lot of additional investment. And Amazon had the culture, and this comes straight from his blog. Amazon had the culture that once you started a test, it was difficult for even an SVP to stop it. So there's an element of what you need. You need a culture where no matter who you are, the test actually had a lot of visibility. B, if they got the answer they didn't want to see, they didn't care as long as it worked. And three, a senior person couldn't stop it. So, and it worked. And it absolutely worked. Now, what did that take? That took an individual who was explicitly told not to do this, but taking in his spare time, coming up with this, working with somebody in IT to make it happen. No major systems work, etc. But then, once you prove what works, then that's when the systems work takes place. Then that's when the automation takes place and all that. So you actually know that you're building something that's valuable. And, I'll just say it. Why don't people do this more? Because in many organizations, they actually don't want to know the answer. Because we go back to the budget. As soon as you give somebody a budget, a test is a break even or lose situation. If the test works, great. Well, you don't really gain anything from it. You don't get any additional money or anything like that. And if the test doesn't go well, you may derail the project that you've been given. So, there really isn't a whole lot of incentive. We see this all the time. Why don't companies test? Well, because the way they've set up the incentives, testing is dumb. Right. Testing is dumb. No one's incented to do it to the detriment of the company achieving the mission.
So it's like the forward pass in football. There are only three things that can happen. Two of them are bad, and yet if you don't do it, you don't win.
That's right.
Like testing.
So just setting it up that way is just not a you're setting the organization up for failure, right. And that's obviously something you don't want to do. The choice of the right algorithm, back to the recommendation engine or something like that. Like I say, machine learnings get a lot of attention. I'm a big fan of it. Some things that you can't do any other way. But, in terms of the testing, if you can't improve something just with a simple business rule, right, maybe machine learning won't be able to improve on it at all. I mean, if you can't do it simply, right, trying to do it in a more complex manner may not actually work.
So you're saying target at like basically low-hanging fruit and understandable resolutions, right? So
that's right, understandable and wow, if we can get another 10% out of that, which is what you might be able to do with machine learning, or to have another, machine learning also offers the ability to add a lot more kinds of inputs without having to without a lot of manual intervention. Okay, that's another great use of it. But if you can't, actually, I implemented some machine learning and optimization algorithms. All of them were proven on much simpler ways. Logistic regression, we did one, well, actually the promotion I talked to you about. That started out as a simple logistic regression, and by the time one of the people that worked in my department was finished with it, it was 8 clustering algorithms that fed into 8 different neural networks, and it was a thing of beauty. And it didn't improve the results by actually that much, but it was a much better way to solve the problem.
Gotcha. Cool. So what are the biggest pushbacks you find? Because we hear so much about the power and value of information and high-end analytics, and yet so few people are getting true or full value from it. What do you, the next 5 years, what do you see happening?
Well, I see a lot of the same stuff happening, and that's because, this goes back to the 90s. So I've been an analyst since 1984, and I've been specifically a consumer analyst since 1996. And in those days, and you may remember them, it was said that 70% of CRM implementations fail. That was the big thing. And now what we say is the number's the same. 70% of analytics initiatives, don't live up to what we're expected, and I would put that all back to an unclear on what the objective is. And I can speak specifically around consumer analytics. What outcome are we trying to drive, and what stimulus do we have? Okay, so here's some. Okay, so that's great. So what are the rules of thumb? Well, all right. A lot of the time, the ambition is way too grandiose. It starts with some journey map, and to get a comprehensive look at the customer experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that all sounds right, and in many cases it's a valid thing to do. But how many journey maps have been done in retail, and how has the experience actually changed? I mean, in most stores, I'm still going in. I pick something off the shelf, and I go in. And I check out. And maybe there's a self-service kind of register. But did one need really to do a big complicated journey map in order to come up with that outcome? A much simpler way to do it is, okay, where do I interact with the customer? Where are the touch points? Well, there's marketing. There's the contact center if I have one. There's the actual in-store experience. And all right, well, I got 3 different things I can do. I can save the customer time. I could give them additional confidence, or remove what I call remove uncertainty. And I can make them feel important, make them feel like they matter to me. Now, if a company looks at every touch point they got and just asks those 3 very simple questions, then they might be able to very quickly decide, oh, well, we could do this, this, and this here at our contact center. Who are the customers that we want to waive policy for? If Stephan Chase asks me a question in the contact center, I might give him the standard answer. But if Thornton May asks, maybe I'll pull out all the stops. That doesn't necessarily require a ton of analytics. It requires a strategy of understanding, what I call, there's 3 things in terms of customer value to understand. There's a customer's historical value, which is, how much have they spent with you. There's customers' expected value, which is, okay, all other things being equal, how much is this customer likely to spend with us? And then the other one is, what's the potential value? How much theoretically could a customer spend with us? And then there might be a 4th one, which is hard to guess, which is hard to evaluate, but it's possible, and it goes way back to loyalty models that were developed in the 80s and 90s. How the term is vulnerable, but it doesn't really, how switchable is, that's a better word, but the one that was used was vulnerable. How switchable is the customer? Are they locked in? Because, all right, so the customer's got potential value, but if they're locked in, well, there's not a whole lot. With those 3 or 4 factors, depending if you're able to get the 4th, you can create an entire customer relationship management strategy very quickly without, like I said, a database environment, without, you need a database environment, without a lot of technological expense early on. Getting to know what, like I said, getting to take a look at the data you have, look at the touch points you have, save the customer time, remove uncertainty, make them feel more important. I mean, who knew? Well, years and years ago, who knew that we all wanted to know where our packages are?
Right.
I mean, that adds an amazing amount of value. Why? Well, because people were very uncertain when the delivery was gonna happen. They couldn't plan around it. They were wondering when it was going to come. Well, okay, that added a ton of value. Just like I say, to remove that little bit of worry, or a lot of worry, depending on what the package was, just by that. Well, not simple. That was actually very technically complicated. But but getting to what I would call a very basic human need.
Well, no, it's speaking of basic human needs. So I bought some. I have to admit, I bought some logoed Dartmouth footwear. That came from China, and of course, China is now having this coronavirus thing, right?
Yeah.
So well, I had total transparency into the supply chain of my Chinese manufactured logo weared Dartmouth sneakers, but they are now sitting in my garage in quarantine because my wife Janet won't let them in the house. So a good thing that analytics could do is tell me when they'll be safe to open.
Seriously, I mean, on the 11th, I sent out an email to my friends and family. I said, "Yeah, you got to take this one seriously. You buy masks, buy gloves,
right.
Because given what we knew about it, which was this notion that it can be transmitted before people have symptoms,
right.
And then it can exist for quite a while, just on surfaces." As I said in my email, I said, I don't understand how this cannot become a pandemic.
Yes, that's true. Well, look at that. We're just about, it's 22 minutes in. We've got all kinds of value from you. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing you. We're going to have the next Digital Value Institute Value Studio in St. Augustine at the end of October. And Stephan is a frequent and very high value contributor to those events. So Stephan, thank you so much for sharing your insights with you. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Thornton.